So you guys love these videos where we go back and review trades that have happened years later, right? And we've done it with some notable ones like the Nick Suzuki trade, the Josh Anderson trade, and now, given that NAZEM Kadri has been handed an 8-game suspension and cannot play for the Colorado Avalanche, honestly, through this first round and maybe even through the second round, if the Avs just plow through it, I thought today was as good a time as ever to look back on the NAZEM Kadri trade about 2 years later, give or take, a month and a half. So the trade happened on July 1st, 2019, and let's get the formalities out of the way. Kadri was traded to Colorado with Kalle Rosen and a 2020 third-round pick in exchange for Tyson Barrie, Alex Kerfoot, and a 2020 sixth-round pick going to Toronto. Now, the first things first, those draft picks, the third rounder and the sixth rounder, haven't amounted to anything significant up to this point, and let's get into the juicy part now. So let's start with the most documented player coming back to Toronto in that trade, Tyson Barrie. And yes, we know now that Barrie is playing with the Edmonton Oilers, having a solid season offensively, because defensively, Leafs fans, you know this one, he is not great. But in 70 games with the Leafs, the way people were talking about him, you'd think he scored minus 3 points. No, dude. In 70 games with the Toronto Maple Leafs, he scored 5 goals, 34 assists, 39 points. Now, yes, that was a drop-off from what he was doing in Colorado, but still not horrible. Okay, and I know he only spent 1 year in Toronto, and the optics look bad, but I think when you actually take a look at it, it's less bad than what people think. And it is bad that they let him walk, but I think he gave them a somewhat serviceable season in Toronto, albeit it was disappointing as to what the Leafs fans were expecting from Barrie. And this past season, Barrie was almost a point a game, 48 points and 56, but how much of that is just looking up and seeing 29 or 97 and dishing them the puck, right? So, let's not look too deep into those numbers. And the other guy coming over in that trade from the Colorado Avalanche was Nathan MacKinnon. I'm just kidding. It's Alex Kerfoot. And look, this guy is a perfectly serviceable, good player. And in an ideal world, you have him on the third line, but you can play up and down your lineup. You can play the wing, can play center, PK, power play, but he's serviceable there. He's not terrible. And look, he's no Nazem Kadri, but he's a good player, and he's a guy that you can't look to him and say, oh, it's Kerfoot's fault that we didn't get in. He didn't play as good as he should. He's not a star, but he's also not terrible. He won't lose you games, and he's just a good player. There's nothing sexy about him or anything about how he plays. He's just a good player. And yes, the numbers don't scream out at you, but he does give you some pretty decent quality minutes, especially if he's on the third or fourth line, where honestly he should be playing. And last season, 65 games, 9 goals, 19 assists, 28 points. And this season, 56 games, played all 56, 8 goals, 15 assists for 23 points. Again, doesn't scream at you, oh, superstar Alexander Kerfoot, but a serviceable player. And look, he's no Nazem Kadri, like I said, but you don't give this guy away for nothing, okay? He's serviceable, gives you quality minutes. Now flipping to the other side of the ledger, the NAZEM Kadri of the trade. This is the cornerstone piece, the name you're going to remember from this trade. And I feel like it's important to preface this with a few things. Kyle Dubas wanted to trade this guy. A lot of people say, oh, it's the suspensions. They were so fed up with him getting suspended. That's why they traded him. Yes, that definitely played a part. But Dubas also knew that he had a lot of big fish that had to be signed, right? And Tavares had just come in at $11 million. Things were getting real tight for Toronto in terms of cap space. And to me, I think that was the driving factor. Personally, I wouldn't have chosen Kadri to be the one to get moved, but with the suspension history combined with the salary, I do think that something had to give. It wasn't the worst thing he could have done. And don't forget, my Calgary Flames had a nice deal lined up for the Toronto Maple Leafs that included TJ Brodie, which you guys got him for free, so maybe that's a good thing. But Kadri axed that deal to Calgary, and who knows what kind of deals he might have axed where Toronto would have gotten a better return than what they got from Colorado. But with that being said, let's take a look at Kadri's numbers since joining the Avs. So last year in 51 games, 36 points, 19 goals. In a full season, season, he would have got over 20. Who knows? Maybe even would have been flirting with 30. And the playoffs is really where he came to shine here. So 15 playoff games last year, 9 goals, 9 assists, 18 points, over a point a game in the playoffs. That is incredibly valuable. Unreal, man. And of course, this season, another solid one for Naz, but a drop-off in production, okay? 56 games, played every game, 11 goals, 21 assists, 32 points. And the guy's 30 years old, right? So there is a little dip in production there, but we know, I mean, despite the dirty hits or whatever you might say in the playoffs, he does come to play there when he is playing in them. So that's when he's at his most valuable. But yeah, still a decent season for Naz, but not what you'd expect in terms of production. Okay, now to the most controversial part. Who won the trade? Now, last year, especially in the bubble with the playoffs, I would have told you, no questions asked, clear cut, the Colorado Avalanche won the trade with NAZEM Kadri because of how he was performing in the playoffs, out of his mind. But now that he's gotten another big game suspension here, I don't know, man. And I mean, okay, if you just look at the optics right now, Barrie leaves, so in essence, it's Kerfoot for Kadri. Yes, the Colorado Avalanche won that trade. But, I mean, when you look at the cap space that was freed up by Dubas in that trade, and they've used that cap space very wisely, in my opinion. I mean, that space has gone to guys like TJ Brodie, Jake Muzzin, Jack Campbell, Nick Foligno, and not to mention re-signing the big guys, the Matthews, Marner, Nylander, right? So, I mean, that's also something you got to look at in the trade on the Leafs side of things. But, I mean, if you look back at it, Kadri for Kerfoot, would you do that deal? No. Right? You try to look for something better. But Dubas was handcuffed in essence because Kadri was trying to do everything in his power to remain a Toronto Maple Leaf. He really wanted to stay with the Leafs, didn't want to get traded. And I guess he saw, okay, well, if you guys really want to trade me, I mean, I guess I want to go to Colorado, even though maybe the Leafs weren't getting the, I mean, I know probably they weren't getting the best deal possible in trading him to Colorado. But here's the thing, though, like, let's say that Kerfoot goes on a run here, and with Tavares out, let's say Kerfoot steps up to the plate here and gives Toronto some really good minutes, leads them to the third round cup final, maybe even a cup, who knows, and Kerfoot is a big part of that. Then all of a sudden, the conversation shifts a bit, because Kadri's sitting on the couch at home, or sitting up in the press box watching the games, and Kerfoot is having a significant impact. And it could go the other way, too, like last year, when Kadri was out of his mind for that playoff run. That's when it seemed really clear that, man, the Leafs goofed up on this one. So this is one of those that could go either way for me. It's not like Josh Anderson, Max Domi, where to me it's clear-cut Josh Anderson to the Montreal Canadiens. The Habs won that trade handily. Right? So it's one of those things that could go either way. Very interesting. Something that we're going to keep watching for, I would say, years to come. And there's even rumors now that Kadri might be on his way out of Colorado. They might be looking to trade him again, which would definitely look at it and say, hey, well, maybe the Leafs won that trade because they got something for him. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. We'll see what happens. It's a very interesting scenario. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Who won this trade? What do you think of Kadri? What do you think of Kerfoot? And throw some Barrie opinions in there too. Why not? But yeah, for more daily hockey content, make sure you guys like, subscribe, notification bell. You know what to do. And I'll see you guys in the next one.